Take one, take two, and
action.
We are live. All right. Well, you guys are going to have to let me know how the audio is doing. If we are in fact on, and if you can hear us or not. But I guess we should start out with I guess an apology for not being on the last couple nights. Obviously, we're usually off Saturday nights. We have kind of been leaning toward being off more on Sunday nights this summer, and as I indicated in the Discord, we got some family stuff going on, so we couldn't be on last night either. So ended up being a couple nights off in a row, which I don't know. I don't like being off more than a night or two in a row usually. But hopefully people will drift back to us here slowly, or not. But anyway, good to be with you tonight. And I don't know, let me know when you guys are here. Kind of a muddled mess of the news right now. Checking different outlets. I've got kind of different stuff all over the place. So we're kind of all over the place in terms of what is rising to the top. This, I guess, track and field gymnast who, what was she at? She was at she sparked outrage by turning away from the American flag during the national anthem at, what was the event that she was at? It wasn't obviously the Olympics yet, but it was some qualifying thing. Of course, these articles never tell you the full context, but that obviously is generating a lot of interest, I guess, right now. Austin Collin, hey, yeah, Austin Collin. Gwen Berry is the person at the Olympic trials. Yeah, that's right. Quiet, hello. Back in DC, so I now have confirmation. So DC is going to be the better part of all of next week. We'll be back in DC. So I know I've been sort of teasing that for a number of days. Obviously, a lot of it has depended on getting meetings set up and all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to be back in DC for next week, and we'll get to show you guys kind of the state of the city at this point. We will see whether we're there for 4th of July or not, and if we're there for 4th of July, kind of what the plan is for big stuff there on the mall. And I don't know if there's, I mean, obviously there'll be the concert, parade, and fireworks, but also is there going to be any protest or anything like that? I'm looking at the map right now of road closures for DC at the 4th of July, and it is a mess. Usually the whole mall gets really messed up, and it's actually kind of a nightmare living down there around the 4th of July, if you need to actually get anywhere. Austin's saying, look up what Michael Eric Dyson said about Republican Trump support. Let me see what Michael Eric Dyson said. Michael Eric Dyson has... Okay, so he has apologized for calling Trump supporters maggots. Dyson also used the phrase mediocre, measly-mouthed snowflake. He's a Vanderbilt University professor. He apologized for using the term maggots in reference to Trump supporters on MSNBC. During a broadcast segment on Wednesday, Dyson said, in speaking about the maggots, I'm sorry, the MAGA, while denouncing recent criticisms of critical race theory. He apologized on Friday afternoon during coverage of Derek Chauvin's sentencing. Let me apologize on this program. I was trying to be cute and clever when I was talking about MAGA. Therefore, maggots, like M-A-G-A, and he added a T, not maggots, like flies, Dyson said. He added that he didn't expect his comment to offend white audiences, or he didn't expect his comment to offend white audiences, and has since been hit with a barrage of hate comments. I didn't anticipate that, brothers and sisters who are white would hear it as that, so I deeply and profoundly apologize for that, Dyson said. But I've been hit with an onslaught of death threats and being called the N-word out of white rage for a mistake I made, for which I am willing to apologize, certainly. Dyson also used the phrase mediocre, measly-mouthed snowflake during the broadcast on Wednesday. We've stood by to see mediocre, measly-mouthed, snowflake white men who are incapable of taking critique, who are willing to dole out infamous repudiations of the humanity of the other. and yet they call us snowflakes, and they are the biggest flakes of snow to hit the earth. So Tucker Carlson obviously responded to that on his show, and this article, I guess, is highlighting that. And then Dyson responded to that, and now it's a big kind of flame war, more or less. So I don't know. It doesn't seem like particularly good. I mean, that was Michael Jordan's old line. Back in the '90s when he was asked to sort of make some political commentary, when he was sort of big in basketball and also really big in the shoe market, and his comment was, Republicans buy sneakers too. That one of the first rules of doing business is don't offend if you don't have to. So just it seems like bad business to do it, but yeah. Brian, hey Brian, how's it going? I have a picture to post to Discord after work. Not any kind of special picture, but an interesting story behind it. That's a nice teaser, Brian. Looking forward to seeing it. I guess whenever you have a chance to post it, would love to take a look. Welcome at any rate. Brian, I owe you a response via email as well. I'm overdue to get back to you via email. I think it would be nice if we could find a guest for this week if anybody is so interested or willing. We'll have to kind of play that by ear and see if we can line anybody up here for Thursday. But if anybody who is on right now has any particular interest in being on our stream this coming Thursday, please let me know, and we'll try to get somebody lined up for that. You guys are watching Land Speculation here on YouTube as we get out of the gate, which I very much appreciate. I apologize for being out the last couple of days, some family things and whatnot. So we're back though today, and hoping we can dig into kind of range of things. But whatever you guys want to talk about, certainly we're happy to get into. Don't forget to give us a like and a subscribe on the stream. I always appreciate that. And then check the description for links, as always, to our Ducks Discord and our Duck Fund. The Discord is our 24/7 chat platform. The Duck Fund is our PayPal link. So always appreciate that as well. Quiet says, not sure if you saw the duct tape channel in Discord, but I posted a photo and video of my new ducklings that I picked up today. Oh, wow. I got to take a look at that. Let me see. Under the duct tape channel here. Let me see. So Quiet has picked up some brand new buff Orpington ducklings. And let's see. There's a whole video here on the Discord of them. Looks like they're kind of waddling around. What kind of vessel are you keeping them in, Quiet? It looks like they got a nice little home there. They look a little confused. Look like maybe they're trying to just get oriented and acclimated, but always good to see new ducks. So Quiet has some ducks. I guess that's a mandate for everyone involved to go get some ducks. Greg Wright, Jess Mitch, and Deborah Miller. Hey guys, thanks for not forgetting about us the last few days. We are back on, so glad to have you guys back with us. We've missed you, especially in the post-pandemic world. Mrs. Land and I have a fair number of things going on, for a number of obligations sometimes we have to tap into. So, if we're ever a little spotty, we're not going away. We're still here, so appreciate you guys finding us once again. So glad you stopped by today, says Deborah. Well, so glad you stopped by tonight, Deborah. Thanks for hanging out with us. And like I said, anything you guys want to talk about is fair game tonight. Tonight is kind of a catch-up stream to kind of get caught up on big news and things like that. We're just talking about Michael Eric Dyson, who Austin brought up. We're talking a little bit about the upcoming 4th of July festivities in Washington. This track and field athlete and the controversy around the American flag with her. These sort of ever brewing culture wars around events like that. Meghan McCain flames U.S. athlete Gwen Berry over anti-American protest. It's not about you. It's not appropriate or patriotic to go to a foreign country where you're supposed to be representing America and act like it's just about you. Is Meghan McCain's comments. But a lot of other things too. We've got an infrastructure bill in the works. We've got a lot of different Supreme Court cases going on around the country, around a lot of things. So Deborah's bringing up some of the pandemic funds. There's a lot of things going on around pandemic funds around the country. When pandemic unemployment benefits can and should end, as well as you're saying the people of Indiana sued Governor Holcomb. Judge Hindley rules the $300 pandemic federal funds to begin being paid again until September. And Greg Wright is pointing out we also have the building collapse, with a little bit more fallout about the building collapse in Miami, which we can get into as well. Roadkill's Spawn, hello. Good to see you. Why so many people are still missing? So, Greg, what are the numbers on that at this point as far as the building collapse in Miami? Let me see if I can find the most recent updates on that. I know they've been sort of gradually digging up dead bodies. Death toll rises to 12 in Surfside building collapse as search and rescue teams hold on to hope of finding people. Total number of people unaccounted for is now 149. The number of people accounted for is 125. That's a lot of that is really a lot of unaccounted people for, or a lot of unaccounted people accounted for people this far after an event like that. And I don't know what that means. If that means that those people are most likely dead at the underneath all the rubble, or if they are just hiding out somewhere and haven't turned themselves into authorities, or quite what. Still, some, including the commander of an Israeli team helping to search the rubble, remain hopeful. They found new spaces in the rubble to search. I guess the last couple of days. There is still hope. Until 1 week, I have a solid hope that we'll find someone. After 1 week, it's minor. The building partially collapsed in the middle of the night last Thursday. So there are a lot of people going through this. The building collapsed very, very badly, if I can use the word, because it collapsed into itself. And the bedrooms that we're looking for, because the people slept in the bedrooms, are under 4 or 5 meters of concrete. Rescuers will continue to consider the unaccounted for as missing until they are found, said Governor DeSantis in a news conference today. Nobody's giving up hope here. Nobody's stopping, said Surfside Mayor Charles Burkett. Officials acknowledged that the conditions at the site are challenging for emergency workers. Workers are steering clear of a 45-foot area next to the building because of concerns about overhanging debris from the standing portion. So I guess there's like still the whole building structure kind of just sitting there above ground, and they're concerned, I guess, for the rescuers' sake, that building could collapse yet on top of all of them. More than 3 million pounds of concrete have been removed during the rescue operation. So I guess they're still trying to figure out exactly what caused this. And I know a lot of the different reports and whatnot that have come out, and they're kind of conflicting things that were said about the building over the last 20 years. I don't know that they always have the greatest engineers doing the kind of year-on-year evaluations. I guess Joe Biden went to visit. So in April 2021, letter from the condo board's president to residents said some damage observed in a 2018 engineers report, including in the garage, has gotten significantly worse. The concrete deterioration is accelerating. The roof situation got much worse. So extensive roof repairs had to be incorporated. So I guess there was a 2018 report that documented a lot of different damage. And then going back further, there were sort of additional reports. It's easy, I guess, to look back in hindsight and, kind of pass blame on some of this stuff. But, a lot of buildings get a lot of different reports issued about them over time. So I'd be very curious to see how this continues to progress. Roadkill, hi, and Farm Girl, hi, and anybody else who is just joining us here. Really good to have you guys with us here on Land Speculation on YouTube. Sorry we were off last night. We're off Sunday night and last night because of some family stuff. But good to have you guys back with us. And, really happy to have you here. And we're happy to talk about anything you guys want tonight, because tonight's a catch-up night. So we're digging into the Miami building collapse. We're digging into this Olympic qualifier in the American flag controversy around her. Some Illhan Omar news. There's lots of things out there right now. And Zulu, hi Zulu, welcome. Don't forget to give us a like and a subscribe, guys, on the stream. We always appreciate that. That really will help us here out of the gate. Thank you guys for not forgetting about us the last few days. But since you're back, the likes and the subscribes really help. And check the description, as always, for links to our Ducks Discord and our Duck Fund. Okay, and True Greenbeard, welcome. The release report from 2018 says Zulu, this should not have been a surprise. Then again, it would have been super expensive to fix properly. a lot of buildings have reports issued on them, showing they are not in the greatest condition. A lot of infrastructures had reports in the last several years indicating it's not in the greatest condition. There's a lot of very, very, very poorly performing infrastructure in this country, at least insofar as the National Infrastructure Report Card is concerned. And not all those bridges collapse. So, on the one hand, you look at that kind of thing and it's like, yeah, people should have known better. On the other hand, there are a lot of cases like that where people don't know better and they're managed to get away with it. So if there's any particular liability in this, obviously, that somebody was neglectful, obviously somebody should pay. But at the moment, it seems like the biggest priority is just getting people out alive. Deborah is, I guess, a couple people talking about Trump. So Deborah's saying Trump rally in Ohio and Trump may run for Speaker of the House. I have heard, I guess those rumors floated, from a few different corners that there's this kind of idea that Donald Trump doesn't need to wait until 2024 to kind of get back into the fray. Since he's in Florida and could probably, pretty easily find a district where he can run and win. And, if he were in the House of Representatives, probably the Republican members of the House of Representatives would happily vote him to be their majority leader if the Republicans do retake the House. Is that something he could potentially do, is run for the House of Representatives and, then become Speaker of the House, and then, have a pretty big impact on government from within the House of Representatives. I don't really see him doing that. There's a lot of sort of day-to-day stuff in the House that I just can't imagine him having any interest in. And I don't know. I kind of feel like he'd rather be a kingmaker from the outside, but maybe. I've heard that from a few different angles. I don't know how seriously anybody's talking about it, but it's certainly been floated. He won't announce either way about 2024, says Jack. Hi, Jack. Welcome. Until after the 2022 midterms. I think that's certainly true about his presidential ambitions. A lot of that probably depends on, how the Republicans, and in particular how Republicans that have been loyal to him, fare in the 2022 elections. If Trump himself is able to kind of orchestrate a massive takeover of the House of Representatives and, help the Republicans hold the Senate, then, he will augment his popularity and his hold on the Republican Party. And, then I guess if he wants to run in 2024 and thinks he can win, he might have a pretty good, mandate to do that. Now, if Donald Trump, supports a whole bunch of candidates for 2022 and they all lose, or the Republicans don't take the House of Representatives, or they don't take the Senate, and it's kind of all pinned on him, then he may lose a lot of political capital in 2022. I don't know. But I think his fortunes for 2024 very much depend on what happens here in 22. All right, guys. Roadkill says Chicago set new record for shootings over the weekend. Let me see. So Chicago Sun-Times always has good reporting on that. And it just always blows me away. Oh, man. So just on Monday, 1 killed, 10 wounded. Looks like, God, there are just so many articles on this stuff. Let's see. When is this from? This is just a few days ago. This is yesterday. 17 shot, 2 fatally in 2 separate mass shootings in Chicago. 2 shootings within hours of each other left at least 17 people injured, 2 fatally. Both shootings gang-related. A shooting in Chicago's Lawn neighborhood Sunday left 11 people injured, with one of the victims dying from their injuries, according to police. The victims were all gathered at the 6300 block of South Artesian Avenue, 10:53 p.m., when 3 unknown men emerged from an alley and fired shots into the crowd. Boy, and then this goes to the whole litany of, the ages of the people shot, where in their body they were shot, and which hospital they were taken to. A lot of people shot in the legs, shoulders, hips. There's more arms, legs. A graze wound. There's another leg, another leg, another leg. There's a torso and a leg. Boy, the offenders are not in custody with the shooting under investigation. That's been one of the really big issues this year, is that not only are the shootings up, But the ability for police to apprehend shooters has gone way, way down. And I think a lot of that is testament to the breakdown in police and community relations that has materialized over the last year. That not only have murders increased, or shootings and murders both increased by 30+% in a lot of cities, but the share of those murder cases that are getting solved has gone down by something like 45%, which means that there are more perpetrators of murders and shootings out on the street and less disincentive to go out and do it. So it all becomes kind of a self-compounding cycle. And in Chicago, pretty much all of it is gang-related, which is really unfortunate. And gangs are the product of the sort of social breakdown and the sort of cultural breakdown that happens when you don't have fathers in the home and things like that. So we've talked about this sort of dysfunctional wheel that is just sort of decimating that city and to a lesser extent a lot of other cities. That is a huge issue. And it's like a tragic issue, and it's a shame we're not actually addressing that. And we reported last week on these sort of conflicts between Mayor Lightfoot there in Chicago and some of the aldermen who are actually responsible for safety in their communities, and their frustrations with her that she has decided to focus so much on these kind of trendy, buzzwordy issues instead of actually addressing the real causes of violence in the communities, at least as they perceive it. Another shooting 2 hours earlier in the South Shore neighborhood of Chicago. People standing on a block in the street. Another SUV drives by. Someone inside opens fire. They almost all go like this. Somebody's out on the street. Somebody drives by in a vehicle, opens a window, starts shooting. Somehow it's gang related. And then we have to read these descriptions of people shot, where they were shot, how many gunshot wounds, which hospital they've taken to. This person was shot in the buttocks. Since 6 p.m. on Friday until Monday morning, 73 people shot in the city of Chicago, with 5 having died from their injuries. Through June 21, murders on the year are up 5%. Shootings are up 15%. Lori Lightfoot has been claiming the crime numbers are improving, though. She makes the claim that looking at crime stats for the last 28 days, by that measure, murders are down 33% and shootings down 21%. So I guess her contention is that actually the shootings and murders have leveled off. I don't know. It's all tragic stuff. Jess says all evil should be squashed. Yeah, I guess I could get behind that. Anybody else who's new here? Peggy, hi, welcome. Good to see you, Peggy. Peggy says it's not a gun problem, it's a gang problem. Certainly in Chicago, guns are being used for all these shootings, so I don't know what to do about that. But certainly, it seems like almost all of them are gang related, and that ties very much to significant cultural dysfunction. About 140,000 gang members in Chicago, quite an army of criminals out in the streets, and that number has basically doubled in the last 7 or 8 years. There was a lot of contentions years ago that one of the reasons there was a lot of gang activity in Chicago was that there had been efforts to dismantle public housing projects, and that by sort of sending people back onto the streets, that created a lot of friction between gangs, and that was sort of a temporary condition, between people trying to iron out their differences. But the reality is, over the last several years, gang activity has basically doubled in the city of Chicago since I last had statistics on it in 2013. And that's just a shocking number. I mean, the city's 2 or 3 million people, but 140,000 people, that's bigger than the biggest stadium in the country. And you just sort of unleash that on your city, and it's just absolutely, it's horrifying, it's destructive. Flexstream, hi, and Moniker, hi. Welcome, guys. And Jeanette, hi. Welcome, guys. Welcome. Good to have all of you with us. And yeah, definitely happy to have you guys here. Not so happy to be talking about, I guess all the violence in Chicago, but we are trying to get caught up on various ongoings around the country right now, and there's a lot of sort of various things. So please keep dropping the suggestions of what you guys want to talk about here in the chat, and we'll kind of go those different directions. This is kind of your stream. I'll come up with things, but if you guys have specific things you want to talk about from the news that you've seen, I'd love to get into those things. Kyle cops not stopping thugs and taking guns off the street will be hard to get a handle on now, says Roadkill. You know, the more it's getting out of hand. I mean, the more obviously it is hard to get a handle on. And I don't even know how you begin to tackle that in a place like Chicago. I've had the chance to work on a lot of communities like that, and I've worked with a lot of sort of aldermen and sort of people at that level who are just trying to kind of hang on by a thread within their small slice of a community. And it's amazing how much they know about what's going on in their communities, and the sort of the anatomy of kind of just how the sort of dysfunction manifests. It's amazing. And it's a shame that with people that sort of know what's going on, that we can't find better ways to do something about it without all of this sort of political showmanship of people trying to impress voters that probably don't even know what they're talking about. Deborah says, I have a friend that filed his paperwork to run for president in 2024. Really? Who is your friend that's running for president in 2024? It's been pretty early for that paperwork. Okay, Jack's being sarcastic. Jess says, God's truth will decide. The works will show in the fruit, and the lost will try to protect evil. Pat Riley. Hi, Pat Riley. Welcome. Chicago's had 40,000 murders in the last 63 years. Last year, 2020, was 770 murders. On a lighter note, the Cubs won the World Series in 2016, and the White Sox won the World Series in 2005. The Cubs also won the World Series in 1907 and 1908. The White Sox also won the World Series in 1917. And a lot of gaps in between there. A lot of people lived long and fruitful lives in the city of Chicago without having been able to witness a Cubs or White Sox World Series. So I guess if you are older than about 15 years old, you should count yourself lucky to have seen both if you are a Chicago baseball fan. Jeanette is asking, where are we driving to tonight? I don't know. I've got some New York footage. I've also got some driving here. Wasn't quite sure what to put on tonight. But I would say probably all this footage from different places. I'm trying to think where this most likely is shot, this particular footage. I've got to think that this was shot on the Outer Belt Highway around Cincinnati, Ohio, many, many years ago. Okay, sorry guys, I'm jumping around a little bit here on the comments, so I'm sorry if I'm missing anybody's kind of profound statements here. But we've got some interesting stuff we've been chatting about so far, which, I don't know, enjoying the conversation here. Roadkill says Americans have had enough. 20 Chicago aldermen demanded the head of cops come up with a plan to resign. I mean, they need to. I mean, obviously they need to. This is out of control. The curse of the Billy Goat. I remember the first time I spent substantial time in Chicago. I thought it was really fun to go down to the Billy Goat Tavern, which I guess is the tavern owner of the Billy Goat Tavern was the person who tried to bring the goat into Wrigley Field in 1945, and who I guess was denied at the entrance of the stadium because the Cubs said, obviously, you can't bring a goat into the baseball stadium during the World Series. And the guy cursed the Cubs and said they would never win another World Series. And for a long time, he was right. The Cubs were cursed with the curse of the Billy Goat. And meanwhile, the Billy Goat Tavern gained a lot of fame and notoriety there in Chicago. There are a couple of different locations of it, but the most, I think, notable one is the one that's kind of tucked underneath Michigan Avenue, which is quite an interesting little spot. What good is Chicago PD plan if the mayor won't approve, says Jack? I don't know I haven't seen any approval ratings on Lori Lightfoot at this point, but I'm curious how people are kind of evaluating her at this point. Deborah says bombing Syria. Well, U.S. carrying out airstrikes in Iraq and Syria. The airstrikes in February against the same militias were also a relatively small, carefully calibrated military response. So I guess the U.S. is kind of doing what it always has in that part of the world. Another round of air raids against Iran-backed armed groups in Iraq and Syria in response to drone attacks against U.S. personnel and facilities in Iraq. with the militias threatening to retaliate. The U.S. military said it targeted operational and weapons storage facilities at 2 locations in Syria and 1 location in Iraq. So that is also going on. Quiet, thank you for the ducks. Quiet's given us 2 ducks here, and Peggy's giving us 3 ducks. That's at least 5 ducks out of the gate here. I'm not sure if we've had any other ducks yet tonight. Oh no, we did get 2 from Quiet, and 1 from Brian, so we actually have had some ducks. So we have 8 ducks here on the docket tonight, so I appreciate the ducks from everybody here at this point. Let me see here. The only good thing Biden's done in office is make gun retailers rich. People seem to have been stocking up on guns extensively the last decade or so. Article's mentioning Steve Bartman, the famous guy who interfered with Moises Alou trying to catch a foul ball in the 2003 NLCS, which led to the Cubs, well, was the first of a sequence of failures by the Cubs that evening that caused them to lose that game and ultimately then to lose Game 7 and blow the NLCS and carry on the curse of the goat. I remember that very well. Lightfoot is on the way out, maybe. She makes a fool of herself, says Roadkill. Depends what media, depends what media you read. I mean, I think she has her supporters yet. I've been reading the New York mayoral race. Speaking of big city mayors, the New York mayoral race continues to get closer and closer and closer and closer. What did I do with that story? The unofficial mayoral results. Eric Adams still leads, according to tally, does not account for 125,000 absentee ballots. So, Eric Adams leads. I guess the other lady is Catherine Garcia. 51.1% to 48.9%, and there are still a bunch of uncounted ballots, absentee ballots. So, we are yet quite to find out who the next mayor of New York is likely to be. But we'll keep watching. Jack's asking, we're headed for the Delta lockdown. A lot of parts of the world, particularly the parts of the world with low vaccination rates, are headed for a lockdown on the kind of basis of the Delta variant. More than 10 million Australians are under lockdown as they grapple with the Delta variant. 4 of Australia's 8 capital cities are now under COVID-19 lockdown as authorities struggle to contain fresh outbreaks of the highly infectious Delta variant. Perth, the capital of Western Australia, began a 4-day lockdown at midnight on Tuesday, while Brisbane, the capital of Queensland, will enter a 3-day lockdown starting on Tuesday. They join New South Wales capital Sydney and Darwin, capital of Northern Territory, which are already under lockdown. So, a lot of countries that have low vaccination rates are pretty scared of this Delta variant. Sydney is under a 2-week lockdown until July 9th. Well, I've heard a lot of Asia is in the same predicament. And, the U.S. probably will not go back into lockdown, but, different states have different vaccination rates here. And I've read a number of articles that are either, from concerned people or people trying to make a political statement about which states are most likely to be affected the most. It sounds like the vaccines have been pretty effective at holding up against the Delta variant, though. So if you're vaccinated, hopefully you're okay. And, if you're not, then maybe not. Zulu says Barton was tailor-made for that gaffe. Why do you say that, Zulu? Let's see. When you actively pound lies in your brain, you get free access to the original hacker, says Jess. Bartman got a ring from 2016. Yeah, Bartman was, he was obviously just terrorized by the fans during and after that game. He had a lot of stuff thrown at him. It was a really horrific night there in Chicago. I remember how surreal that was when the Cubs blew that lead. What was it, in the 7th or 8th inning? He was basically chased out of the city, and I think it was the state of Florida offered him like some kind of. They welcomed him with open arms. I think he actually did move down to the city of Miami for a while. What a life-changing moment if you're a guy like that just shows up trying to attend the ball game and your life like totally turns on its head. I still blame Alex Gonzalez, who was their shortstop, for bungling that ground ball on the very next play, without which the Cubs still would have likely won that game. 2 states under new lockdowns. The big bad Delta COVID has arrived, says Deborah. All right, let's see. England is locked down. Only 3 people have died from COVID the last week, says Flex. Farm Girl says, I completely disagree with the nonsense endless wars that the Dems seem to like war, I guess according to their track record. Hi, Random Videos. Random Videos, good to see you. Thanks for stopping by. It's been a while. The no papal apology in Canada Indigenous abuses situation. So I guess there was a school there in Canada underneath which 215 bodies were found at a boarding school that had been run by the Catholic Church. Canada's Indigenous Services Minister has said it is shameful that the Pope has never formally apologized for abuses at the country's Catholic-run Indigenous residential schools, which he termed labor camps. So the recent discovery of graves of 215 children in the city of Kamloops at one of 139 boarding schools set up a century ago to forcibly assimilate Canada's Indigenous peoples. So I'd imagine in Canada, that's a really big story right now still. Obviously, the bodies are from long ago, but how they got there is, I can't really imagine. So pretty crazy story there. Catholic Church has recently been found guilty of hiding mass graves of hundreds of children who went missing while they were at a boarding school, says Random. Monica says, we're never going to stop these endless wars. Sad so many elementary schools could be built with those funds. I would say that's one of the things that Donald Trump did seem to kind of turn on its head within the Republican Party was its stance toward war. If you guys remember the 2008 Republican primaries, like it was a battle to see who could be the most hawkish. And that used to be a big driver of electability for Republicans. In the era since then, especially starting in 2016, Republicans have been pretty anti-war. And very pro-tariff, frankly, in terms of international relations. It's a much more kind of isolationist approach to the world. Just a reminder, guys, you're watching Land Speculation here on YouTube. I'm happy to have you with us, and thanks for not forgetting about us here the last couple of nights. We were off on Saturday, as we usually are, and we were also off Sunday, as we've kind of been doing regularly here in the summer, now that it's kind of nicer weather and we've got a lot of other things to do. We didn't expect to be off on Monday, but, family stuff calls every once in a while, and Mondays are often big streams for us, so wasn't happy about being off Monday, but thank you guys for not forgetting about us, and if you know other people who have forgotten about us, please remind them that we're still here, trying to be on as often as we can. So we've got catch-up to do tonight, which we're trying to dig into, but obviously happy to have all of you with us. Don't forget to give us a like and a subscribe on the stream if you haven't already. The likes really help us out. The subscribes really help you guys out. I guess they help you guys know we're on. But the likes help us out with the YouTube algorithm, so I always appreciate that. Check the description, as always, for links to our Ducks Discord and our Duck Fund. We are still searching for a guest for Thursday. I know I had a few people reach out to me about potential conversation topics on Thursday, or I guess conversation topics in general to be guests for. I'm not sure any of those people are available this Thursday. So if anybody has even the slightest inkling that you would be interested in being a guest on our stream for even a few minutes, if not the whole stream, just to kind of chat about who you are and what your interests are and things like that, or any specific topic you're interested in, shoot me a note, landspeculation@gmail.com, or you can reach out to me on our Discord. But would love to have anybody who's interested in potentially being a guest on our streams, get in touch. And let me know. Let me know what you're interested in. If you're sort of apprehensive about it, let me know that too, and hopefully I can try to persuade you. Yeah, guys, let me know if you want to be a guest here on Land Speculation. Roadkill says fruit punch. I'm not sure what that is. Okay. Lockdowns, what a waste of life and time, says Peggy. Oh, I think before Jeanette was saying she wanted to talk about division in the country. And Jaws is here. Hey, Jaws, how's it going? Max Smith is here. Gary is here. Thanks, guys. Thanks, guys, for joining us, and good to see you all. Hope you guys are doing well. Jaws is enjoying Colorado for now, leaving tomorrow morning. So, Jaws has been doing some traveling. Hopefully we'll get you on for some of your 20 days of freedom left before Jaws heads off for basic training. That should be an adventure. Farm Girl says, I've been baptized Catholic as a baby without choice as Catholic. I get rebaptized as a Christian later on in life when I could make my own choices. So what denomination are you now, Farm Girl? I'm curious. In Houston city limits, Hispanic, about 40% of the children are under 18, says Roadkill. That's not super uncommon for a lot of the, for a lot of parts of the world. The Middle East, that's the case. In a lot of countries, a lot of developing parts of the world, that's the case. Certainly, it's highly unusual for the United States, but it certainly points to, a healthy reproductive rate, within that community in Houston. So that's interesting stat. Obviously, America at large is struggling with with replacement rate birth rates. So my advice to everybody is go out there and have as many kids as you can as quickly as you possibly can. Like, we need babies to be able to sustain the country and sustain the population of the world long term. So get out there and have some kids right away. It's very important. COVID variant Zebra will be here just in time for midterms, so go online to get your mail-in ballots, says Jack. I'm sorry, I meant to say ballots. Monica says, don't be a Buckner. Bill Buckner, obviously, was the famous Red Sox who missed the ball, I guess let the ball go through his legs at first base in Game 6 of the 1986 World Series when the Mets were rallying. Mets went on to win that game and the World Series. So, yeah, don't be a Bill Buckner, I guess. Catching Hell. Yeah, I think isn't that a documentary about Bartman? Amazing that no one shot Bartman. There's not much. I mean, Chicago's violence is very, very, very segregated to a few specific neighborhoods. It's amazing, actually, when you're in Chicago. Like, if you live on the north side neighborhoods of Chicago, like Lincoln Park or Wrigleyville, which is where Wrigley Field is, or Lakeshore, or a lot of Rogers Park, a lot of communities there on the north side of Chicago that are incredibly, incredibly nice and very safe and very pleasant, and they're just like, it's like living in any suburb except that it's a little bit denser city and it's all young people from mostly Big Ten colleges. But then you go on the south side of Chicago and it turns into an absolute disaster zone. It's a very, very, very segregated city in kind of in every way you could characterize segregation. Let's see. Holly. Hi, Holly. Welcome. These are almost all, if not all, from Ohio, Holly. If you can sort of discern where any of these roads are. I'm trying to kind of keep up myself, but this is like years and years and years of random little bits of footage I've shot on roads across Ohio amid many, many a travel through the state of Ohio. So I guess actually some of it's in Indiana, I should say. So I'm not sure where all of it is, but if you know Ohio country roads, particularly up in northern Ohio, you might recognize some of this, maybe, just maybe. Let's see. Read The Bad Guys 1 story of the 86 Mets. Interesting story about Kevin Mitchell hiding out at Doc Gooden's house from snipers and a decapitated cat, says Jack. Wow. Gary, Indiana, says Flex. Seems like a paradise to raise a family. I've driven through Gary, Indiana many, many a time. Yeah, I wouldn't recommend living there. I was just watching a video on YouTube that somebody decided to make. Some people have a lot of creativity. It's a video titled "The 10 Worst Places to Live in the State of Indiana." And that seems oddly specific, but it was interesting. It was an interesting watch as someone who knows Indiana fairly well. And believe it or not, Gary was number one on that list of places you don't want to live in the state of Indiana. So I wouldn't recommend it. Poor Buckner. Let's see. Speak to Mrs. Land about populating America, says Jeanette. We will do that, Jeanette. Yeah, that's true. I guess we should do our part. Purely out of an obligation, I guess we should do our part. Farm Girl is non-denominational, just believe in Jesus Christ is simple. I've got to probably list all the denominations of Christianity whose churches I have been to a service in. It's an awful lot. I've had some really interesting experiences in life that have given me the chance to sort of compare and contrast all of the, well, I wouldn't say all, but many of the different Christian denominations, as well as the Catholic Church, the LDS Church. Let me think. Episcopalian I have done. Lutheran. What else have I done? I've certainly done Mennonite churches, the Christian Church or Disciples of Christ, the Church of Christ. Yeah, I got to think. There are quite a few that I have had the privilege of getting a chance to experience, at least a little bit. True Greenbeard says, how many babies do you have again, Land? To be determined, True Greenbeard. Hopefully as many as we can possibly muster. At least that's what, I don't know. I gotta check with Mrs. Land on that one. We'll see how many we can manage. Roadkill's been binge watching a documentary about the Knights Templar. What have you learned, Roadkill? True Greenbeard says they pulled out all the stops to prevent Trump from making diplomatic inroads with Russia. Why is being the enemy of Russia so important to them? It doesn't make any sense. Because I don't think it really has a whole lot actually specifically to do with Russia, but I think it does have an awful lot to do with politics, as always. You know, anything coming out of Washington, view it as cynically as you possibly can. And I just from experience that there's very little sort of authentic language that you hear from politicians coming from Washington about things like that. Especially, the tell is obviously when people totally 180 when the parties flip in terms of who's in power. Yeah, just look at what Washington says very, very, very cynically. Joss says, maybe I could, tomorrow night stream I could hop in voice chat. Yeah, Joss, I'll shoot you a note on the Discord. We should talk about it. I think before you go, certainly I'd love to have you on to kind of talk about what is forthcoming in your life. Let's see. Will the California governor be removed, says Deborah? I don't think so. I don't think he's going to lose his... But he is now going to have to go through a recall election, but I don't think Gavin Newsom is going to get removed. Monica says, did you see the municipal water storage tank explode in California? Any speculation on the cause? Let's see. I did not see a lot about that story, Monica, but... the California city of Lemoore declared a state of emergency following a deadly water tank explosion that was caught on camera Monday afternoon. When the 1.5 million gallon city water tank ruptured, the massive storage container flying into the air, then crumpling on impact, it left the site out of operation. I don't know the reasoning, Moniker. Let's see. I guess so. Hurt city employee killed a contractor. As a contractor started to weld, an explosion ensued. The tank separated from the ground and lifted approximately 70 feet vertically before a tsunami occurred, causing major damage to well site 7. Man, that sounds surreal. I guess residents are being urged to save water. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know the answer, Moniker. It sounds like a crazy event, though. California says don't charge your Tesla. Grid can't handle it. They're going to certainly have to update their grid if they're going to in fact stick with the plan to have the entire state on electric cars by 2030. Let's see. Chicago's cursed. Best part of Ohio highways is I-71 and Lindale area. You can drive as fast as you want, says Jack. Why is that? Is there just no enforcement, or is there no speed limit? Barbie Girl. Hi, Barbie Girl. Welcome. Pat Riley thinks Chicago needs Obama. He could go back and be mayor. Or Michelle could go back and be mayor of the city of Chicago. Or, hell, Oprah could go be mayor of Chicago. She lived there for years. Holly says, I thought it was I-75 at first, but then I looked at the roads a bit and more clearly, and they are a little too close. I think there's some I-71 in here. There might be some I-75. There's probably also some I-275 in here, Holly. Barbie Girl's giving us a meow. Well, hi, Barbie Girl. Really good to have you with us. Zulu says, I have lived in all of those. Lincoln Park was the most fun. Yeah, Lincoln Park is kind of where a lot of the young people live. Zulu, I should tell you something about my tastes. I like Lincoln Park. It's a little bit too neighborhoody for me. I tend to like, if I'm going to live in a dense city, I want to live like in the downtown. I want to live in a place that has sort of, big, nice condo buildings and high-rise buildings. And I want to live in a part of town that is mostly populated by people in their 30s, 40s, and 50s, and not so much people in their 20s. So in terms of my favorite neighborhoods in Chicago, I was much more a fan of like the Loop and the River North area and the Gold Coast and neighborhoods more like that, and a little bit less so neighborhoods like Lincoln Park. I figure if I'm gonna, at some point I'd probably, if I were in Chicago and I were like an adult, maybe I would go for the suburbs and try to live in, say, the northern suburbs like Evanston, Winnetka, Wilmette, Arlington Heights, perhaps Naperville, Orland Park, some of those really nice suburbs, kind of at the periphery of Chicago. But everybody's got their preference on neighborhoods, and it tells you a lot about people, I guess, which neighborhoods they enjoy the most in a particular place. Holly says, I am having a better understanding of what I might want to do now. Just might take a little time. Let's see. Greg says he's from Chicago. Who's from Chicago? Kanye West is from Chicago. He could be the mayor. Oh, man. That would be an adventure. Lindale area of I-71 is the absolute biggest radar trap. A lot of the biggest radar traps where you get those really little communities that, maybe their entire city budget depends on their ability to issue tickets along the highway, if the highway cuts through them. Everyone seeks forgiveness for something, says True Greenbeard. It seems con of the worst kind to convince them that the only way through forgiveness is through me. Peggy says, breaks my heart that anyone burns down churches. It's a story that people forgot about that's very relevant to that is the burning of Notre Dame. You guys remember that from 2019? That kind of fell off the radar as a news story. I wonder if they're going to get that rebuilt in time for the 2024 Olympics. Barbie Girl says, no, people in my life call me Teen. I've always liked pink and dress in fashion, and people are saying Barbie and just stuck for years. So should we call you Tina or should we call you Barbie Girl? Yeah, they're going to have to upgrade the power grid if they want everybody to be able to charge a Tesla. Brady, why are we talking about Tom Brady, guys? What's the Tom Brady stuff? Zulu attended DePaul. Yeah, DePaul's an interesting university. It's a university up in the neighborhoods there. I knew some people from there. Zulu, we could trade stories sometime. Let's see, the Democrat Iowa primary. What's going on there? I don't know. I'm not seeing anything on that roadkill. Barbie girl says, okay, Tina or Barbie girl, doesn't matter, it's his name. Okay, fair enough. So I had some things pulled here. Okay, this was pretty good. If you're waiting for the waiter at a restaurant, aren't you the waiter? Yeah, that's pretty good. There's a man that's asking a waitress in the restaurant, pardon me, miss, may I ask about the menu, please? And the waitress replies, it's none of your business about the men I please. Meanwhile, Jesus and his disciples walk into a restaurant. So I guess Jesus has somehow come back to life, and he's with his, I guess, the 12 apostles, and they're walking into a restaurant. And, it's obviously Jesus is the 12 apostles. Jesus goes up to the head waiter and says, excuse me, can we have a table for 26, please? And the head waiter looks back and he does a quick count and he says, Jesus, I'm a little confused. There's just you and there's 12 other people. Are you expecting other guests? And Jesus says, no, but we're all going to sit on the same side of the table. Get it? Because like in all those famous paintings, everybody in the Last Supper sits at the same side of the table. I don't know, I thought this was sort of an interesting observation that Jeffrey Dahmer was eating Five Guys long before it became a big popular thing. Okay, Peggy, thanks for stopping by. Let's see. Moniker's name isn't Moniker. So it looks like we're debating which stretches of highway are the worst to speeders. I don't know. What's the best stretch of highway in the country if you want to speed? Pat Riley says, Biden was in my home state of Wisconsin and La Crosse. It made me feel special. Well, we had Biden here in Ohio, I know, a few months ago. And we actually did get to see his motorcade go by. It was kind of interesting. I don't know if any of you guys joined us on that very early afternoon stream, but we were on for a little bit. Waiting for Joe, because he was visiting the hospital here to do like a commemorative anniversary of Obamacare, and he came out and his limo went right by us and we waved at him, and that was about that. It's a little anticlimactic, if any of you guys remember. But we get to see his motorcade a lot in D.C. Bigger deal when he's out of the Capitol. Deborah loves Five Guys burgers. I had a friend in high school. I don't know if I told this on the stream once. I had a friend in high school who I guess got a hand-me-down car from his mom, and he was one of 5 brothers. And for some reason, the mom had a vanity plate on the van. It was like one of those big vans, like the style that you had in like Home Alone that the bad guys were driving around. And the vanity license plate was 5 boys. And this guy was in high school driving this around and parking it in the student parking lot every day. And we gave him a lot of crap for that. Brian's name is Brian $, says Brian. Why did John Wayne Gacy stay home for New Year's Eve? He could not dig up a date, says Jack. Yikes. I don't know if he would. I mean, he was pretty fiercely in denial about being gay, so I don't know that he would have wanted to date any of the bodies that were under his house in a public setting. People are usually shocked that I have a police record, says Quiet, but I like their greatest hits. That's pretty good. Farmville says nobody's perfect, or nobody's body is perfect, and I hate how the social media and Hollywood portrays and how they propagandize our young women and daughters to think they have to compete or look the same as women. Max saw the Bush motorcade in South Bend in 2005. Very impressive. Oh, we got multiple people in La Crosse, Wisconsin. Interesting. Let's see. So there's another guy going into a restaurant. So I guess I have to play the alter ego as this guy, the way this joke is set up. So apparently, my girlfriend is 19 and I'm 29. So again, my girlfriend is 19 and I'm 29. We go out to eat in a restaurant, but the whole time I have to deal with being accused of being a pedo, being called disgusting and disturbed, and it really ruined my night at the restaurant, and I was really pissed off that the staff had the audacity to treat me that way, calling me a pedophile for having a 19-year-old girlfriend when I was 29 years old. It really ruined our 10-year anniversary. You gotta think about that one for a second. Let's see. Somebody said to drive fast 25 north of Raton, New Mexico. I bet you go out west far enough that you get some really, really fast stretches of highway. Yeah, Brian's pretty amazing. Two people from La Crosse, Wisconsin out of our group here. We've got a lot of geographic clustering from time to time. Just a reminder, guys, you're watching Land Speculation here on YouTube. I appreciate having you guys with us. As a reminder, don't forget to give us a like and a subscribe if you haven't already. I always appreciate that. The likes help us with the YouTube algorithm. The subscribes help you guys know when we're on. And yeah, give us a like. And then check the description for links to our Ducks Discord and our Duck Fund. We were off the last 3 nights, unfortunately, so appreciate you guys finding us once again. When we're off and we're not streaming, it's not because we have intentionally gone anywhere. It's usually because we have some other obligations that we have to attend to, particularly here as the world is opening up and all that stuff kind of returns. I kind of miss the days of everybody just being inside all the time. But probably good for the world that things are opening up. But when we're not on, the Discord's a great place to catch up and kind of stay kind of in the fold. So if you're not on our Duck Discord, please remember to join that. And if you've joined and you haven't checked in a while, it would be great to see some of you guys on the Discord more frequently. And I don't know, we got some interesting things there from time to time that don't make it on the stream. So definitely a good way to stay engaged with us. All right. Max was in South Bend for 4 days, drove past the airport looking for a restaurant. Saw AF parked and pulled in, and my son got video of about 200 feet away. Security was quite chill. Interesting. Jeanette reads recipes the same way I read science fiction. I get to the end and say, well, that's not going to happen. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, let's see what else we got here. Okay, we've done that one. Oh man, did you hear about the restaurant on the moon? Great food, no atmosphere. All right, let's see what else we have. Okay, so the Pope and Donald Trump are on stage in front of a huge crowd. The Pope and Donald Trump. Who knows why they would be out on stage together. The Pope leans toward Donald Trump and says, I guess he's whispering to Donald Trump, do you know that with one little wave of my hand I can make every person in this crowd go wild with joy? This joy will not be a momentary display like that of your followers, but go deep into their hearts, and for the rest of their lives, whenever they speak of this day, they will rejoice. So Trump replies, wow, I seriously doubt that. With one little wave of your hand, show me. So the Pope slaps Donald Trump. I suppose you could insert whoever you want to in that joke. I guess that depends on your perspective. Apparently, Monica Lewinsky didn't vote for Hillary Clinton in the 2016 election. She said, when interviewed, that the last Clinton presidency had left a bad taste in her mouth. These are bad jokes. Okay, let's see, guys. So we're talking. Okay, Barbie Girl's talking about peer pressure on girls, on their bodies. Yeah, it's not good. Let's see. Did you know that, like, so Donald Trump, I think, was really expecting to get a second term. He left office fairly reluctantly at the end of his first term. I think he had a lot of ambitions that he hadn't yet gotten to. I hadn't realized that one of his ambitions in his second presidential term was that he was actually going to pass an executive order banning the sale of pre-shredded cheese. I was kind of blown away when I read that Donald Trump in his second term had proposed an executive order where he was going to ban the sale of pre-shredded cheese. It turns out that apparently he wanted to make America great again. You got to think about that one a little bit too. Oh man. Oh, guys. Let's see what else we got. So we've got the Miami area condo building. Supreme Court today declined to lift a national eviction moratorium. So it's a divided Supreme Court declined to lift a nationwide moratorium on the eviction of tenants who have fallen behind on their rent during the COVID-19 pandemic. So I guess basically at the kind of early in the pandemic, somehow through the CDC, the federal government was able to pass a nationwide moratorium around public health concerns, basically prohibiting landlords from evicting people from their apartments, even if they weren't paying their rent. And the rationale for this was the CDC found that mass evictions could accelerate the spread of COVID-19 because displaced tenants would likely move in with friends and family, if not into shelters or settings in proximity with others. And they concocted sort of a COVID-related rationale that if you had all these people sort of mass moving in with friends and family, it would help spread COVID. Obviously, landlords are pretty fed up with this, especially now that COVID is, not that big of an issue anymore. It's a really crazy law because basically what it requires is that if you're a landlord and you've made housing available to other people, you are now basically at the point of a gun by the government, forced to let them, to provide them housing, even if they're not paying you. And that seems like horribly unfair and, highly illegal. But the Supreme Court today upheld that on, some legal grounds. The four most conservative justices opposed it, and three, I guess, Kavanaugh and who are the three crossover ones? Kavanaugh and a couple of the others crossed over and voted on behalf of the measure. So I thought that was a little strange. Austin says, make a channel on the Discord called Austin's News Updates. So, Austin, the way we have generally handled that is generally once someone, in fact, you guys who visited Discord probably are wondering about this. It's an interesting question because there are some named channels on the Discord for some of our most frequent posters. You've probably seen like Colin's Corner. We've got Land's Legs. We've got Ask Jeanette. We've got Quiet Corner, things like that. So basically the rationale we have used for that is that when people enter the top 10 in the official Me6 leaderboard for our land speculation Discord, that's when we kind of offer people the chance to have sort of a personalized channel on the Discord. It's no obligation, but if you get in the top 10, then we'll reach out and offer it to you. Just for context, Austin, it looks like right now you are number 24 So, I don't know. Happy to work with you on stuff, but if you guys are sort of wondering why are there certain sort of named channels there on the Discord, and why how do you get one? The answer is you just got to post a lot and be engaged with the community. And if you make it into the top 10, then that's kind of usually when we go that direction with folks. So anyway, if you're curious, feel free to shoot me a note otherwise, and we can talk about it. But that's generally kind of where that comes from. But also, you're not too far away. You're about 1,000 posts away, I think, which seems like a lot, but it's actually not a ton if you do a few every day. Zulu says they've been hearing a lot of whining on alt-right streams that police are quitting en masse and no one will want the job. An alternative will be federalized, says Zulu. Let's see. The CARES Act provided free rent, says John Curtis. Hi, John Curtis. Welcome. Thanks for hanging out with us today. Justice Clarence Thomas said it's time to remove federal cannabis oversight, says Moniker. Yeah, there was a pretty contentious case around a serial felon who the Department of Justice refused to provide representation to prosecute before the Supreme Court. So the Supreme Court had to appoint a special prosecutor to prosecute this individual, and they got convicted. I don't know. There's a lot of conversation about that at the national level right now about, what should be done about marijuana laws at the federal level. Obviously, the courts have the obligation to enforce the laws that are. And given the laws that are, we all know what the laws are on marijuana. And, if you don't want to get caught, don't smoke pot. Like, I guess I don't really have a whole lot of sympathy for people getting caught on major marijuana violations or major other drug violations when the laws are pretty clearly stated. If you want to change the law, go get the law changed. Work through your legislator, your representative, or lobby the executive branch that you think drug laws should be changed. But don't commit a felony and then bellyache about it when that's what the law is. That's what the court's objective. The court's obligation is to uphold those laws if that's what's on the books. Zulu says police are fleeing in their jobs in droves because they have something to hide. Ubiquitous federal policing will be a reality. Congratulations. Well, I think policing is a very tough job. Obviously, if it's done well, it's certainly a very tough job. It can be a very dangerous job, and I think anybody would have to have a certain personality type to want to do that job. I think it's become more dangerous in a lot of places. And I think, the more antagonized the relations are between police and civilians within the community, the more difficult it is, for police to be able to do their jobs in a safe and effective way. I think a lot of police are concerned about the idea of being just sort of constantly scrutinized. On the other hand, I think there has been a culture within police forces over the years of sort of self-protection. And, we want people willing to be police officers, certainly, because having good police, or having police that we can trust, is a really, really, really important cornerstone to having sort of an effective civil society. Quiet says, what do you call a deer with no eyes? No-eyed deer. Yeah, it's straightforward. There was a one lot open space in the block where is it? Gacy's house? Yeah, John Wayne Gacy. That's one of the weirdest whole serial killer stories. He's one of the worst ones, that's for sure. I mean, they're all bad, obviously, but he seems like one of the most brutal. They want police to be gunfighter, boxer, brain worker, social advisor, and divorce lawyer, says Roadkill. Well, I mean, a word of advice to people is don't call the police for things that don't merit the police. Like, don't call the police to be the mediator in your dispute with a family member unless you absolutely have to. Like, that doesn't end well for anybody involved. Once you've put that issue in the police's hands, it probably doesn't end very well for anybody. If you can find a way to resolve something without having to engage the police, that's kind of a civil dispute. Find a way to do that without calling the police, and don't waste the police time trying to use them as like your the person you tattletale to because you're not getting along with someone. Deborah, I would suggest refreshing. I think we were doing a little bit better than that on the watching and the likes. But I do appreciate the likes, guys. If anybody hasn't liked, I appreciate that. Silver Dog, welcome. And anybody else who has stopped in since I last welcomed people, I always appreciate you guys being here, hanging out tonight. We've kind of had a pretty eclectic conversation so far, which I appreciate. A lot of things to chat about here. And let me know what else you guys want to chat about. We've even done some jokes today. That's always good. Sneaking some jokes in there is always good. It lightens us up a little bit. Roadkill says, never tried weed, but curious. Jen says there's a food channel on the Discord for recipe sharing. Yeah, if you do have recipes, or if you're a cooking aficionado, check our Discord for recipes. Jake McPuffin says, smoke weed every day. I think we've got a lot of people that watch us who seem to watch us while they're smoking weed, and I don't know what it is about the way our stream operates, but people seem to enjoy that, so who am I to stand in the way of that? So if you, you should feel free to enjoy us however you most want to enjoy us. I guess within the bounds of legality and all that kind of stuff. Snow looks nice on a hot evening. I don't know. I enjoy summer. I relish summer. I don't look forward to it being winter again. The days are getting shorter. I don't know. I like when it's nice and hot out, like minimum 90 degrees. Keep it hot, stay hydrated, go to the pool, all that kind of stuff. But I'm not looking forward to winter coming back. We did an awful lot of outdoor streams in the winter. People who were with us back in December, January, February remember that. We were out on some very, very, very cold days, walking around. So we put in our time, and we've been doing more indoor streams since then. But I don't know. All things being equal, I would definitely prefer it hot than prefer it cold. And I am curious if you guys agree with that. What is your favorite ideal weather? Max Smith is saying, except all the shootings are largely people resisting, and a few mistakes, like the female officer in Minnesota. It's a tough situation. A lot of people don't deal with police every day, and they panic, and they do make bad decisions. And making a bad decision in the presence of a police officer, I guess, probably in an ideal world, should not get you killed. But if you've got a gun and whatnot, you should obey commands. By the same token, if you get in a hit and run, don't drive away. Like these things where people panic and they make a bad decision, and that can often lead to very, very bad consequences for people. You got to sort of keep your mind in that situation and weigh the risks and obey the law. Really sad the guy who killed that suspect that shot the cop in Colorado was killed by the other cop. Mistakes happen. Read about the former police chief of Mequon, Wisconsin, who was killed accidentally by his own sniper. I think it was 1979. Yikes, Max. Wow, Barbie Girl, that's a lot of ducks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 ducks. Thank you, Barbie Girl. We're at least 18 ducks today, so I appreciate that. We're, I guess, got a little bit of a slow start on the ducks, but I do always appreciate the ducks. Keeps my brain, I guess, active, trying to count the ducks. Pat Riley wanted to be a cop when I was young, went through the background and interview process. They asked why I wanted to be a cop. I told them about my handcuff fetish. They asked me to leave. Oh no, Pat. That is not where I thought that comment was going. Oh man. Let's see. What else do we have here? By the way, guys, I know I said this before, but if anybody wants to be the guest on our stream this Thursday, please don't be shy about reaching out to me via either email, landspeculation@gmail.com, or reaching out to me on our Ducks Discord. I would love to find. We've had several people reach out to me about being on the stream. I'm trying to find somebody for this week. And if you want to change up the date, if you want to do Wednesday or Friday, if you're available this week, feel free to let me know, and we can sort of make it work at your time. But if you're interested at all, please do let me know. Okay, Jeanette says her favorite weather is 100 degree and high humidity. I kind of with you, Jeanette. I like that kind of weather. Quiet says 69 degrees with a moderate wind and a sunny but slightly cloudy day. That sounds like good football weather, maybe. A little chilly, but I guess I could handle that quiet. That sounds like San Francisco weather. Shooting citizens isn't the only measure of bad policing. Well, a big measure of policing is how well the police are doing at, being able to minimize civilian on civilian violence. I mean, that is a huge part of their objective. And when civilian on civilian violence is escalating as it has this year, that's a sign of policing that is, not achieving what it's designed to do. And you will probably never have perfect policing. But, the policing that would, I guess, be the most effective in my eyes would be policing in which there are, in which the community at large is extraordinarily safe. When there is a very, very, very low number of civilian on civilian criminal acts, and you can go out your front door and not worry about your safety on a day-to-day basis. And that is the first and foremost objective of good policing. And that, obviously, as a sort of 1A to that is, obviously, in terms of civilian interactions with police, that those be as safe as humanly possible. And we should target, obviously, 0 police and civilian deaths. Obviously, those two things together are not probably possible at a sort of absolute level. So the more we can minimize both, the better. Police force is only effective as the city hall it answers to, says Jack. That's probably true in general, yeah. Jess says, let me check my schedule. Well, Jess and Farm Girl, we would love to have you guys on. I think you guys would have a really interesting set of perspectives if you guys wanted to be on our streams. So don't be shy. Reach out to me if you can, and we will find a time that works for all of us. If you get stopped, roll all 4 windows down, turn the engine off, and hands on the wheel. It is you're showing respect to the officer, says Max. That seems like maybe a little much, but, probably best to follow the commands. Okay, we got debates about hugging here. One of the strangest chases I ever did, says Roadkill, was chasing a stolen vehicle in an unmarked car. They crashed through the rear gate Hobby Airport, and we went across runways about 80 miles an hour. There was just a story last week about somebody, I think it was LAX, that drove onto the runways at the airport. I thought it was hard to get onto the runways, but maybe. Barbie Girl's a good baker. Rolls and cookies from scratch. We still have not finished our beef jerky. We did our snack bracket on the stream a couple weeks ago, and we had beef jerky, and we're still working on it. I gotta say, I don't think it's my favorite snack. This week we're going through some Tostitos, some Ruffles, and some Sun Chips. So I'm excited about all that. Cinnamon rolls. I'm not a huge cinnamon rolls person. Okay, so we talked about the national eviction moratorium. Supreme Court is also, I guess, very, very soon going to have to address the case. I guess they put it off, but they put off this case accusing Harvard of discriminating by race in its admissions. So you guys probably recalled this from the last couple of years, that there was a cohort of, I guess, parents of Asian American applicants who sued Harvard. And I think they also sued Yale, accusing them of racial discrimination in admissions because, obviously the admissions rates for Asian applicants were substantially lower, with all other aspects of the application being equal. Asian applicants were being given much lower marks on a lot of these sort of qualitative personality measures of qualification for admission to Harvard. So those parents, sued the school, and it actually a lot has come to light about the school's admissions policies. A lot of things that were sort of formerly a mystery to people have now been exposed. But this case has basically made it all the way up to the Supreme Court. So the Supreme Court has put off whether to hear this case. They asked the Biden administration for its view of the case, basically asking for a written view of the case from the Biden administration, punting a decision to next fall or later. The Biden administration obviously has emphasized equity, quote unquote, as a dominant policy goal, and that's creating huge challenges for the federal courts because, by any measure of the existing civil rights legislation that's out there, which basically prohibits discrimination on the basis of race, an executive mandate for equity basically is embedded with discrimination on the basis of race. By equity, what Joe Biden means is preferences for some racial groups over others to achieve equal outcomes, quote unquote. And there are federal judges that have already kind of rejected this premise. A lot of other areas like the USDA or the US Department of Agriculture program that allocates loan forgiveness on the basis of race, as well as some of these COVID-19 programs that were basically designed to kind of prioritize handouts to quote unquote socially disadvantaged people on the basis of their skin color. It was really interesting reading about some of the kind of the evolution of legal precedent on when the government is actually able to pass legislation that discriminates against people on the basis of race. In 1989, there was a Supreme Court case that basically established the sort of precepts that any piece of legislation has to meet for the government to be able to justify, privileging certain people on the basis of their race. Justice Sandra Day O'Connor, in this particular case, wrote that the Constitution's Equal Protection Clause demands, quote unquote, strict scrutiny for judging governmental racial classifications. That broad justifications based on past discrimination aren't enough. In other words, quote unquote, strict scrutiny requires the government have a compelling interest for discriminating by race, and that it must use the least restrictive means possible to achieve that interest. So there's two things that have to be met on a legal standard here. Strict scrutiny, in other words, there has to be a very specific reason for discriminating by race. And number two, that the whoever's passing legislation has to prove that what they're doing is the quote unquote least restrictive means of achieving that interest. So if you're trying to redress past inequities on the basis of skin color, that you would have to prove not only that what you're doing sort of ties directly to past inequities, but that's the least invasive way of doing it. So if you're going to pass a bill that's designed to sort of make up for, say, the wealth gap that resulted from, the Jim Crow era between blacks and whites, that not only does the federal government have to prove when passing, unequal legislation today, that what it's doing is directly tying to that, but also that in doing so that there aren't better ways of achieving that outcome. And I don't think in any of these cases that I've seen so far in which the government has sort of lazily passed, basically sort of, racially discriminatory legislation, that they would meet either one of those precepts, which means almost all these things are most likely to get struck down by the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court, I think, is trying to send a message to the Obama administration right now, or to the Biden administration right now, basically telling them that and asking them to make their case for, why racial discrimination in the contemporary era isn't a violation of all of the various, civil rights precepts that the country has implemented over the last 50, 60 years. And I think it's really important stuff. But I think what's interesting is it's starting to get into like really detailed legalese right now. And it's like there is something coming to a head here. The Supreme Court is going to have to start ruling on this stuff. They can't keep punting it. And, the whole sort of equity agenda of the federal government is going to face, a lot of court battles. And as it faces those court battles, it's going to become a major public interest story, and that's going to stoke the culture wars even further, and that's, not good. Anyway, guys, that's a fair amount of detail. So we got a lot of police conversation here. Jack says, I make the best Chef Boyardee mini ravioli. The trick is to heat it on the stove and not the microwave. You probably get a more even heat on your Chef Boyardee, Jack, if you do it on the stove. It probably does make it better, because one of the worst things about Chef Boyardee is when you open that container to eat, usually parts of it are like absolutely scalding hot and will burn the top of your mouth off, and then parts of it are like still frozen ice cold, and it's just an absolutely miserable experience. Pat Riley thinks cops should be allowed to flip people off when they're being insulted and disrespected. Farm Girl, meanwhile, loves homemade cinnamon rolls. Okay, Brian had posted something on the Discord. So, Brian, I will have to check that out. Whatever is on the Discord. Let me see. Okay. Wow, a dead body found in the park prior to Biden's visit? Yikes. Well, thanks for posting that, Brian. If anybody wants to check out what Brian posted, check our Discord under the protest channel. Peanut brittle. No, I'm not a fan of peanut brittle. The Capitol Rotunda is racist. They just spent a lot of money refurbishing the Capitol Rotunda over the last 5 years or so. Where's Farm Girl? I don't know, Jess. I think you would probably know the answer to that better than we would. All right. What else do we have? Let's see. So there's always these stories on students challenging dress codes and whatnot at public schools. People giving like incendiary speeches, and I feel like every article I read about a student sort of challenging the rules of their school is framed as this rights versus restrictions story in which the school is being unreasonable by trying to enforce its own rules, and the student being restricted from expressing their freedoms by egregiously violating the rules. And I always find it infuriating to read these kinds of stories, because I don't really agree with the way they're told. But I guess this is different. This is Supreme Court is having to grapple with whether what students say on social media is something the school can get them in trouble for. And I guess the Supreme Court has basically said that you can say whatever you want on social media and the school can't punish you for it. So, I don't know. Is that a good thing? Maybe. Let's see. CNN has a story that says, America's economy is booming, but Republicans are miserable. Even though the U.S. economy is expected to grow this year at the fastest pace in decades, consumer sentiment among self-identified Republicans is worse today than during the height of the pandemic. Republicans are more pessimistic than at any point since September of 2010, when the economy was just beginning to dig out of the Great Recession. Meanwhile, consumer sentiment among self-identified Democrats is higher than at any point during the presidency of Donald Trump, even though unemployment was far lower then than it is today. This polarization of consumer sentiment across party lines is not entirely new, but it got significantly worse during the Trump era and continues to this day. didn't really matter who was elected until Trump, says the guy that did the study. So basically, people are now basically people's view of the economy and their view of whether they're willing to spend money is now hugely colored by politics in a way that it never was before. I don't know. We talked about Gwen Berry, the quote-unquote flag-snubbing U.S. Olympian, as well as the Meghan McCain comments in response. There was this quote from Illhan Omar. I guess she was asked about equating the U.S. with terrorists. She says she doesn't regret equating the U.S. and Israel with the Taliban, and blames Jewish lawmakers. So that's out there. We talked about violence in Chicago. We talked a little bit about the Delta variant of COVID-19 and what that's causing in Australia and Asia in terms of lockdowns, and whether anywhere in America is going to go that route. I guess we're yet to see. See, America's doing much better on the vaccination front than a lot of other countries. So hopefully we will avoid any of that kind of thing. We talked briefly about the New York City election, which is tightening, I guess, as they count absentee ballots. And we talked about the Miami building collapse, or I guess the Miami area building collapse, which, people are still trying to figure out what exactly happened there. Everybody's sort of digging into years and years of reports about the conditions of the building. There were some reports in 2018 showing that there were some cracks in the foundation and things like that. And people are kind of starting to, even though they're still searching for bodies, people are still already trying to kind of dig into the causes. Still 140-something people missing, which is just crazy. Unfortunately, that means there's probably a lot of deaths yet to be uncovered. I think right now they've only confirmed like 12 deaths in the collapse, but still 149 people missing and unaccounted for. So hopefully they find some of them alive, but there could be a lot more deaths here on the way. Okay. Zulu says, my understanding is there should be no more absentee ballots, be present or be relevant. Sorry, service members. It's an interesting perspective, Zulu. I mean, absentee voting is a lot easier than voting in person. A lot of college students vote absentee from where they live. Obviously, a lot of service members vote absentee from where they live. A lot of people who can't be there on election day vote absentee. It does create some issues. I think one of the big issues that happened this past election was that absentee ballots got mailed out proactively to people. And then it was really hard to confirm who had voted in person versus who might be submitting absentee ballots, and that takes some time to sort through after the fact, even if it's done earnestly. So I don't know. I mean, obviously there's a lot of conversation around election protocols for the next time around. Let's see. Oh, Farm Girl is on Jess Mitch's account. Okay. Sweet potato pie recipe. Sweet potato pie is pretty good. Sweet potato pie, pecan pie. Got introduced to Derby pie. You guys probably recall a few weeks ago, Mrs. Land and I were in Louisville, and we went to Churchill Downs, and had a good time experiencing all those Kentucky delicacies, like obviously lots of bourbons, but also Derby pie, which is one of my new favorite desserts. IOC, the most corrupt sports organization in the world, says Jack. So I know that at the actual Olympics, on the medal stands, athletes will not be permitted to protest. And I guess the reason she was able to do that at this particular event was that it wasn't actually part of the real Olympics. It was all the qualifying. She had a whole story that I guess this lady that basically kind of was disrespectful during the national anthem. that she was blindsided because they played the anthem at a time when she wasn't expecting it. And you can see the pictures of her looking pretty dark, just like rolling her eyes on the podium. She's clearly like, pretty exasperated that they're playing the national anthem. And boy, you would think somebody that's like getting a chance to participate in the Olympics and live in one of the most prosperous countries in the history of the world would, have some nice things to say, or at least be able to be kind of respectful in that instance. But I don't know. Apparently not. Zulu says, I saw a suggestion they should just label bathrooms with urinals and no urinals. I can get behind that, maybe. They could just make all urinals in the bathrooms. I always find the urinal dance in bathrooms kind of amusing. I was at a baseball game a while back, and in this bathroom there were 4 urinals against the wall. And they always say that you can always tell when somebody who's not male designed a bathroom, because if a male designs a bathroom, there's always going to be an odd number of urinals, because males, I guess out of sort of a social distancing courtesy to each other, generally tend to leave a space between urinals in most instances, unless it's kind of overcrowded. And if you have an even number of urinals, it's kind of a wasted space because nobody's going to use the second or the fourth one. Well, anyway, in this bathroom, I guess there were 2 guys at the first, there was people at the first urinal and somebody at the fourth urinal, and then there was a line of people. And nobody was quite willing to take the plunge to use the second or the third urinals, because something about that just seemed a little too close for comfort. These were very tightly spaced. There were no dividers in between them. So even though there were 2 open urinals in this setting, the line of guys sort of extended out the door until one guy finally took the plunge, went up to the second urinal, and then the floodgates open, and then people were using all 4 urinals. So I always find that sort of dance between the urinals a little bit interesting. So I don't know, maybe that's a little glimpse into male bathroom life for any women on the stream. But Nicholas, hi Nicholas, thanks for joining us. Oh yeah, is it Nicholas's birthday today? Oh yeah, happy birthday, Nicholas. Well, congratulations. I'm trying to remember. You once told me how old you are, but happy birthday at any rate. And we will collectively try to make you a duck-shaped cake, I guess. Okay. Hasselbutt Boyardee is the excess saucification removal process, is Jack. They have too much sauce, maybe? I don't know. I kind of like their sauce. Flex says the splashback effect is what I would be afraid of. Those dudes were never at a Browns-Steelers game at the old Municipal Stadium, says Jack. Yeah, the old, if you ever went to a Browns game, the bathroom was collectively known as the Modell. John Curtis says, when America runs out of natural gas, we'll need to rely on windmills for power. The price of natural gas is going up again tonight because inventories are running low. Well, there are a lot of different sources of energy. I think the challenge is converting them between different, different outputs. So, America's not necessarily uniquely dependent on natural gas, but I think we guys used to call it the all of the above strategy. Like, America has so many domestic sources of energy. We need to be pushing as hard as we can on all of them. Jeanette says, why can't we talk about the 2 girls who respected the flag on that podium instead of the child throwing the temper tantrum? That's an interesting point, Jeanette. Yeah, I mean, the people that are sort of, the people that sort of follow the rules and kind of put their head down and go to work and do it the right way and, kind of respect their peers and pay their bills and all that kind of stuff, rarely get stories written about them. And, I think that's what frustrates an awful lot of people in this country is that there's a great backbone of people who, feel like they're kind of doing it the right way, and they put in a lot of effort to do it the right way and to take responsibility for their own actions and for their own families, and to put away a nest egg and all that kind of stuff. And then there are also people who kind of don't operate that way, who end up getting an awful lot of attention. And I have every sympathy in the world for people who feel like they spend their life sort of toiling away and taking responsibility for their actions, and then at every turn have the problems of everyone else sort of heaped on their shoulders. And much as they try to just sort of carry on and never complain, there does come a point where it's like, come on, man, just let me live my life. And that sentiment is something I very, very, very much commiserate with. Responsibility is becoming a lost art, says Quiet. Yeah, I was just reading a study that said 9 out of every 10 Americans are stupid. I'm really glad I'm part of the 1%. That's a joke, guys. Okay. Don't think make wet ass is good. I do laundry, says Jess. Not sure what that means. The bathrooms at Candlestick Park did not have urinals, only a 20-foot long trough. Yeah, those trough bathrooms, luckily those seem like they're mostly on the way out, but there are still some bathrooms that have the trough set up, which is a little strange. So we got a lot of bathroom debate here in the chat, and I don't know, the transgender bathrooms thing is, it's a huge, generates a lot of interest and attention nationally. It's like a real sticking point. I was listening to a podcast today. It was an ad for a different podcast that was they were sort of airing some quotes, but the podcast was, I guess, oriented to people very pro transgender participation in the sport of which they have elected to identify. And this seems to be like a lot of people feel like they're being sort of highly oppressed in the situation in these debates. Doctors from the big name schools were the worst surgeons. Stanford's MDs were the worst, says Max. Really? Farmville says, I was born in 1983. My father was in the Coast Guard from the time he was 24 and I was 2 years old. I remember being on a Coast Guard ship and taking my first steps to see my daddy at the port. Weird. Yeah, trying to trace back first memories is tough. I have kind of a unique memory. I can remember like an enormous number of specific instances and dates from my childhood, and it's actually a fairly rare condition. But trying to sort of trace back to like the very first memories is always interesting. There's this condition called hyperthymesia that like there's only like 16 people in the world that have it, where they can remember literally every detail of every day of their life, and I can't imagine what that's like for them. It's pretty crazy. Zulu says, I do research by watching streams that say what I want to hear. There you go, Zulu. John says, sounds like you had a nice childhood. Well, one of the challenges that comes with that is you remember all the good and all of the bad. Jeanette says, if a man drops his trousers in front of a child on the street, he gets arrested. The same guy drops his trousers in a bathroom where the young girls are present, he's celebrated. Well, we did see a guy drop trousers on one of our early streams last year on Pennsylvania Avenue. We saw a guy drop trousers and defecate on Pennsylvania Avenue. not in an act of protest, but just as a homeless individual that I guess didn't have any other place to go. It's one of the odder events in the history of our streams. John says people don't like to remember unpleasant memories. That's what Scientology is for, John, to help you sift through those unpleasant memories, get over them, and then eventually be cleared. John, am I becoming that predictable? I do feel like sometimes, having done this for 2 to 3 hours every day for the last, last year plus now. We did have our anniversary party last week. Now that I've been doing this for a year plus, I feel like some of my stories might start getting redundant. Although I would still like to have some land story time streams on some of our lighter days. I feel like there's a lot of sort of personal stories I probably haven't gotten into over the course of our streams. But I need to sort of spend some time thinking about what I want to share and what would be interesting to a mass audience. Jack's got a crash. Okay, thanks, Jack, for stopping by. Roadkill doesn't have any sons. I guess that makes the question a moot point. E-meter's bad, polygraph's good, says Zulu. All right, who is our winner tonight, Quiet? The winner is, oh wow, Jeanette. I feel like Quiet and Jeanette have like there's some kind of cabal brewing here. Our winners. Let's see, who's the winner? A True Greenbeard is the winner for tonight's stream. So, True Greenbeard, congratulations. Congratulations on the victory tonight. Zulu says, that was rigged. Well, True Greenbeard wins the 2 cents on the night, so congratulations on your winnings. Obviously, the house takes 1 cent, and it'll cost you a 55-cent stamp to have the other cent mailed to you. So, anyway, you at least get the bragging rights. If a guy drops trousers at John Wayne Gacy's house, he gets buried under the porch, says Pat Riley. Yikes. Yeah, I don't know. John Wayne Gacy, he seemed to enjoy the experience of it all. And it's a pretty horrific situation. I listened to too many true crime podcasts over the last several years. Crazy stuff. True Greenbeard says, I say Zulu won. Zulu, have you won before? He was a clown, but he was a clown younger. Like, clown was not part of his getup to actually trick people into coming to his house. Usually what he would do is he would put a fake police light on top of his car and drive around in the dark and pull over like teenage kids and then, basically have them get into the back of his car and then drive them off, and then that was that. Or voluntarily invite them over and I remember one story about him where he basically, he was impersonating a police officer, which is one of his favorite get-ups, and he had a kid over at his house. I don't know why the kid went over to his house, but he had a kid over at his house, and he basically was asking the kid, do you want to see how, do you want to know how to get out of a pair of handcuffs? And the kid thought that would be kind of a cool trick to learn, so he let John Wayne Gacy put a pair of handcuffs on him. And when he did that, John Wayne Gacy says, well, the key to getting out of a pair of handcuffs is you have to have the key. And only John Wayne Gacy had the key. And from that point, the kid was handcuffed, and it was kind of anyway, the rest is history. Very, very grisly and brutal and sad and all that kind of stuff. John Wayne was tricking most of the men, says Barbie Girl. Yeah, definitely. Monica says, let's meet up after the stream for games or voice channel Discord. Does anybody want to meet up on the Discord after the stream? So Monica, if you're going to be there, we did have our 1-year anniversary Discord birthday party voice chat last Thursday, which I think was generally a success. We had about 10 people show up, and we had a very, very, very long conversation about a lot of things, which I think people seem to enjoy. I don't know if anybody was there and wants to corroborate either way. But that, I don't know. We'd love to see more people the next time we have one of those. But it sounds like Monica, and maybe Jeanette will be there either in the voice chat or in the games channel on the Discord. So even if you just want to sort of check it out, it sounds like people are going to be there on the Discord after the stream. So would love to, I don't know, people want to keep hanging out. That's probably the place to do it. Barbecue says that his father beat the shit out of him about John Wayne Gacy. Yeah, that's true. He seemed to have a pretty troubled childhood, and I don't know, there was a lot of issues going on with him, and repressed feelings, and the need to impress his father, and all kinds of stuff. True Greenbridge says, seems like a real jerk. Yeah, I would say he does seem like he was a real jerk. Yeah, he got executed by the death penalty, and he did give a couple interviews before they executed him, but I would say saying he was a real jerk is definitely an understatement. He killed 33 people or something. He found like 28 bodies under his house, and then 5 more buried somewhere else. He was a pretty awful figure. Jeffrey Tubin is also a real jerk, says Flexstream. Different kind of jerk, yes. Gacy's last victim was picked up from a store down the block from my junior high school. I wasn't in junior high school yet, though, says Julia. Yeah, what's crazy about crime in that era, in the 70s, which is, keep in mind, policing was not nearly as good in the 70s. Things weren't tracked as well, particularly if it was like runaway kids. There was no DNA testing anywhere near as good as what we have today. And, a lot of cases would go unsolved for a very long time. And in John Wayne Gacy's case, there were like, nice suburban neighborhoods of Chicago where like half a dozen kids would go missing in similar fashion over a very short period of time, and police couldn't put the dots together. There's a reason that serial killers just aren't as pervasive now as they were. I mean, the forensic tools available to solve crimes today is much, much stronger. And policing, police just take their jobs much more responsibly in terms of solving that kind of thing. But it's just, there's some horrific stories from the 70s on that kind of thing. Are you, Barbie Girl, are you sure you're not thinking of Ed Gein, the mom's undergarments thing? 70s were the golden, yeah, if you call it a golden age. I mean, there were a lot of serial killers in the 70s, that's for sure, Zulu. Sounds like something he would do, Pat. Yeah, well, yikes. Yeah, Ed Gein was the women's undergarments guy. A lot of crazy characters. We've talked about a few of them. We talked about Jack the Ripper and Henry Holmes. Those go much further back in history, but you're right. The 70s are really the big era for that kind of thing. True Greenberg used to find them fascinating. Now it just makes you sick and grossed out. Yeah. I mean, it's grisly. I don't think Marv Albert was a serial killer, guys. Oh, man. Let's see. Who won the NBA game tonight? So the Atlanta Hawks, or no, I guess it's the conference finals tonight. The Atlanta Hawks and the Milwaukee Bucks. Atlanta Hawks beat the Bucks 110-88. So NBA playoffs just drag on forever. There's still NBA playoffs going on. Marv Albert was an NBA announcer, speaking of the NBA, yes. Guys, if you haven't given us a like and a subscribe on the stream tonight, just a reminder, I always appreciate the likes, and the subscribes help you guys know when we're on. I always appreciate both of those things. Check the description, as always, for links to our Duck Fund, which is our PayPal link. We'd always appreciate the contributions there. If anybody hasn't contributed there and you've been enjoying the stream, obviously very much appreciate that. And then check the description also for links to the link to our Discord. As I said, Jeanette and Monica might be on there after the stream tonight, hanging out. So if you guys want to hang out with them and chat a little bit and maybe play some games and maybe converse with some mysterious voices from out in the ether, I don't know. Check out our Discord after the stream. After we wrap up the stream here in a few minutes. Okay, the Zodiac Killer Quiet says. That's another really interesting one. Ted Bundy and the Night Stalker were also creeps. Yeah, a little bit different in style, both of them. John Curtis says, I forget the guy's name. We had a serial killer in SoCal that liked ice picks. A kid from my neighborhood was a victim in HB. Wikipedia has a list of serial killers listed by number of victims, says True Greenbeard. Yeah, maybe maybe on one of our future streams we can go over that, True Greenbeard, in terms of the, I don't know, what are they, serial killer rankings? Pretty perverse. Some of those guys, we will never know maybe how many they actually killed because they get in prison, and when they have nothing to lose, they start taking credit for people they didn't even kill. Like, they just want to rack up the body count to build their notoriety. There's one guy that I think, confessed to like 300 murders, even though he probably only really did maybe, far fewer than that. Roadkill says NBA is a joke. How can you make calls from slow motion only in the last couple minutes, but not for the other 46 minutes? It would really slow down the game if they did it the other 46 minutes. But you're right, Roadkill. Ed Gein and John Wayne Gacy were both wearing their mother's undergarments, really? Oh my goodness. Oh man, Farm Girl says nobody knows what women go through with their undergarments. Aye. Man, guys. Richard Allen Davis is another one. Randy Kraft, an ice pick guy. You guys remember Ice Road Truckers, this show? I remember watching that a lot, a while back. It was a good show. Plot was always the same on Ice Road Truckers. It's often about hubris. Ice Road Truckers, somebody was always having to haul some really high, important, urgent load up to Yellowknife or the De Beers diamond mine somewhere in northern Canada. And it would be a very suspenseful show as they had a lot of weight on their truck and they weren't sure if they were going to make it through the ice to their destination on time. And lo and behold, almost always they made it. Then occasionally there were a couple instances where somebody just showed a lot of hubris on the show. I remember there was one guy on the show named Hugh that was always like a real jerk, and eventually he would get his comeuppance at some point in the show. It was a good show for teaching values. Barbara says, yep, loved it. Yeah, Jeanette says, loved Ice Road Truckers. I don't know, it's not still on, is it? I feel like they have to have run out of plot ideas by now. There wasn't a whole lot to that show. I did enjoy it, though. Roadkill says we had a guy in the 60s who was burying young boys in a boat stall? Yikes. Cops finding men with big collections of female undergarments are the creepiest, as Max. Yeah. Andrew Lawrence. Hi, Andrew Lawrence. Andrew Lawrence is also pitching Gold Rush. I'm watching The Ice Road, starring Liam Neeson on Netflix as True Greenbeard. Background, it's a very bad movie. All right. Dirty Jobs is back. I guess I don't watch a whole lot of raw TV anymore, so I don't even keep up with kind of what the shows like that are. I don't know, Pawn Stars, I assume, is still a thing somewhere. What was the one of, like, the Hoarders, I guess, was the one where people would have these, like, just awful, horrendous housing situations where they just, like, have bags of crap and trash and whatnot piled up in their houses. That was always interesting. Pat Riley's giving us his strategy as a serial killer. Yikes. David Klingenpeel. Hi, David. Welcome. Good to have you with us. Alone is an interesting show on History Says Quiet. Take people and plop them into a remote area and see who can survive the longest with minimal supplies. Yeah, that is interesting. It's sort of kind of like The Amazing Race. American Pickers. Extreme Couponers is Flexstream. I know some people that are extreme couponers. I don't know. I feel like I'm always a little resentful about that because I don't do the couponing. I feel like I, as a regular consumer, am bearing the brunt of the price impacts of them using all those coupons. So I don't know. I just wish the grocery stores would ditch the coupons. You're talking about Florida? Okay. Who's the exterminator girl? Or exterminator guy, Barbie? I don't know who that is. Hoarders is a good show. I'm a bit of a hoarder. Not to that extent. But I do like hanging on to things. And usually find a use for them later. We should do another age and location check at some point on here. I'm always interested in keeping tabs on who and where our audience is coming from. So if anybody wants to drop their location and their age, I'd always be curious. Obviously, I know for some of you guys because I've gotten to know you over time, but I'd be curious. Back in the 70s, the moms in our street would get together and trade coupons. They were a big deal back then. I don't know. It's not quite the same when they're all from online now. It's like part of the deal with coupons is you got to go through like the Sunday paper to get them. So Farm Girl's been with Jess since age 14. Barbie Girl's been with husband since 18. Interesting. So David is in Springfield, Ohio, 38. Okay, thanks, David. And Quiet. And John. Flex is older than 18. Timbuktu 5. I don't know. We've had some pretty young people on our streams. We've had a fair. I mean, we've got a couple of regulars. I think who are teenagers. So we've actually had a pretty interesting mix of people over time. Yeah. Thanks, guys. You can download coupons on your. Yeah, that's not the same, Barb. I don't think that's. I don't think that should count quite the same to download them on your phone. But I don't know. I guess every little helps when you're at the store and trying to save money. Or you could be Jeff Bezos and like build a giant empire of online stores and make your money that way. All right, guys. We've covered a lot of stuff today. We covered the Miami building collapse. We covered a lot of things going on at the Supreme Court. We talked about policing and violence in Chicago. We talked a lot about serial killers here late. I don't know what that says. We talked about that Olympic qualifying and the controversy around the national anthem. Talked a little bit about food in there. We had some jokes. Promo codes, yeah, promo codes are a big deal now. News never reports on serial killers currently in the news. Maybe all the everyday run-of-the-mill generic murders that are rising above the serial killings are pushing the serial killings out of the news, says Pat. Yeah, maybe. John says, thanks for the drive cross country. This is my stop. Yeah, we've been driving all night tonight, I guess. So we'll try to find some interesting footage. I thought I'd vary it up with some driving tonight. Person can in charge of the men? I don't know, Max. Barbie from Michigan in Atlanta. Okay. Interesting. Well, it's always interesting to sort of catch up with people and kind of where they are. We used to have when we were on earlier in the afternoons or in the evenings, we used to have a lot of international folks because I think a lot of people in Europe would catch us kind of late their night. So I don't know. We might have to start doing those periodically again, like a 6 p.m. style streams. I don't know. I would be curious on sort of getting people's take on the Discord if there are other times when it would be good for us to stream when you guys have time to be able to check in with us. So I might post a poll or something on our streams on the Discord. So check the Discord, guys. It sounds like after we sign off tonight, at least Jeanette and Monica are going to be hanging out. So would be great to have some people join in the fun. So at any rate, I might pull up some different footage here. Like I said, if you haven't given us a like and a subscribe on the stream today, I do always appreciate that. The likes help us with, likes help us, I guess, in a lot of different respects, but they definitely help us with the, with the YouTube algorithm. The subscribes help you guys know when we're on. So if you haven't done those things yet, I always appreciate the likes on the streams. In the description, obviously, there's links to our Discord and our Duck Fund. If you're interested in being on our stream sometime this week, really any of the days, but especially Thursday, if you have any interest, please reach out to me. Reaching out to me is not an obligation, but I'd be happy to sort of chat with you guys about what you might want to do on the stream and just sort of start kind of getting the ball rolling on that. So shoot me a note, landspeculation@gmail.com, or reach out to me on our Discord. We'd love to chat with anybody who's interested in potentially being a part of land speculation here on YouTube. Once again, guys, I appreciate you guys not forgetting about us here over the last few days. We were off for a couple nights. It sometimes happens, and I appreciate you guys coming back to us and hanging out with us again. I'm probably going to start signing us off here for the evening. Though once again, I do appreciate you guys hanging out with us. So I'm going to pull up probably some alternative footage here. And I think for the moment, I'm going to call it a night. So with that said, thanks for joining us, guys. Give us a like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. Check in on the Discord. We'll be back on tomorrow night. And for now, I hope you guys all have a good night. Oh, and thanks to our mods, by the way, for all the work that they do here. Anyway, thanks, guys. Hope you guys all have a good night. We're growing up a little bit. And then Mama Duck's really digging.
So is little baby. Look at that. They're completely submerging themselves. It's so cute. Babies are just following along with mom. That's so cute. They go all the way under. Do you think there's a lot of good food down there?
Must be. They're really going.
Yeah.
For that.
We got 2 more males over there.
They got, this is the pond that has some fish, so
Yeah.
who knows what they're going for down here.
They're definitely finding stuff. Look at that.
Maybe it has a bread base.
Maybe. They're still so small and cute. think it's because they're not big enough to just put their butts in the air. So they have to put their entire bodies in the water.
Well, Mama's teaching them.
Yeah. It's kind of weird to look at the buoyancy of the ducks, how they manage to float their butts in the air. There's only 2. I think there were a lot more before.
What happened to them?
No, might have been eaten by a dog.
This does seem to be the pond of the disappearing ducks.
Yeah.
Last year we started out with like 6 of them, and then they just slowly dwindled over time.
Yeah. I guess there's a lot down there.
Good stuff.
Yeah. Oh! Something bit the little one.
Uh-oh.
You can still kind of see the bottom. I don't know if you can see it on camera, but you see the little weeds down there?
A little bit. Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't seem super deep.
Yeah. Oh, now the 3 males are all together and then the females are behind. That's a little baby. Just all over that.
Okay.
My friend, when we first got her
They're so fuzzy.
Yeah, but they're not like newborns. They're a little bit older.
Feathers, yeah. That's still fuzz. They're not young adults yet. They may be elementary school
Yeah.
age.
Interesting how they clean themselves here.
Yeah.
Rock ducks. They seem to like the rocks at this pond because I don't think the fish can nip at them there.
Yeah. I don't see that many fish either.
Yeah, there used to be more fish, didn't there?
Yeah.
There used to be that guy that would fish here every day.
Right. I can't imagine you catch them after a while, like someone replenishing the fish in the pond. Look at their little beaks. Pretty flexible. Just watch all the water drip off her. Okay, it's dry now.
Oh, Mama's going back to being a water duck.
A lot of duck butts in the air. I bet if we had some bread, they'd probably go for me.
Oh yeah, they'd become land ducks real quick.
Yeah. Maybe get some babies on us too. It's so cute.
It's like that one's thinking about becoming a water duck again. There it goes. Hey ducks.
That's so cute. Oh, he's going back on the rock.
Oh, we got rock ducks again. Oh,
and
nope.
I don't want her. It's like, oh, what is that? What is that?
Oh.
Little ball.